Hi, friends.
Today I want to share a new story with you. I hope you enjoy watching it. Also, what do you think of my video background? Do you like it or not? Let me know in the comments below. It was a perfect summer evening in Maine. I sat alone on the restaurant terrace, looking out at the ocean as waves crashed against the cliffs. Inside, I could see my whole family, 23 people, through the big glass windows. They were laughing and raising their glasses at 3 long tables joined together in a private room. My brother Thomas stood up to give a speech. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw my mother wipe her eyes and my father smile proudly. I sat quietly with a glass of scotch, the same one I was given for my 40th birthday by people who now acted like I didn't exist. A waiter came over and asked, "Would you like to order now, sir?" I nodded and picked the simplest thing on a menu. As he turned to leave, I said, "One more thing." I pointed to the private dining room and said, "I'd like to pay their whole bill, but don't tell them until after I leave." He looked surprised, glancing from me to the happy family inside. "Of course, sir," he said. "I'll let the manager know. My name is James Harrington. 3 months ago, I was the chief financial officer of my family's shipping company, Harrington Maritime. I had worked there for 15 years. Back then, I still had a family. I was the middle of 3 sons. My father, William Harrington, had grown the company from one fishing boat into the biggest private shipping business on the East Coast. My older brother Thomas was the smooth talker, perfect for dealing with clients. My younger brother Michael was the creative one, always thinking of new ways to improve our ships. I was the one who handled the numbers. I made sure we made money. For 15 years, I worked long hours, sometimes 80 hours a week. I missed birthdays, anniversaries, and even my own wedding rehearsal. My wife left me because she was tired of coming second to my job. Honestly, I barely noticed. The company was everything to me. Under my leadership, the company tripled in value. This year, my father turned 70. We were having a big family reunion for his birthday, and everyone expected him to retire and hand the company over to Thomas. That was always the plan. But then something happened. 2 days before the announcement, my father called me into his office. "James," he said, leaning back in his chair, "you've always been the reliable one." He paused, then added, "But the company needs more than just reliability now. It needs vision." I knew what was coming. "Thomas will be the new CEO," he said. "And Michael will be CIO. They have big plans for the future." I waited to hear what my role would be, but he said nothing. "And me?" I asked. He looked away. "We're hiring a new CFO from outside the company. Someone with fresh ideas." It felt like a punch to the gut. "You're replacing me?" I asked quietly. "It's not replacing," he said. "You'll still be on the board. Less stress. Less responsibility. Less of everything." "Was this a group decision?" I asked. His silence told me the truth. Thomas and Michael had planned this. "It's best for the company," my father said. I stood up calmly. "I see," I said, then left. That night, I got an email officially removing me from the CFO job. A new guy from Morgan Stanley was starting Monday. They couldn't even wait until after the birthday dinner to push me out. The next morning, I went early to the office to pack up my things, 15 years of my life in 3 boxes. As I was leaving, I ran into Thomas in the elevator. "James," he said, surprised. "Why are you here so early?" I held up my boxes. He understood.
Oh, right.
"Dad told you." I nodded. "Congrats on your promotion." He looked a little uncomfortable. "It's best for the company, James. Nothing personal." But it felt very personal. He added, "You'll still come to Dad's birthday dinner, right? Everyone will be there." "Of course," I said evenly. I wouldn't miss it. The elevator doors opened, and I walked out without looking back. At home, I left the boxes untouched in the hallway. 15 years of my life gone. I'd given everything, and they threw me aside like I didn't matter. But it wasn't just the company. My own family had betrayed me. That day passed in a blur. But by the evening, something changed. The pain became something sharper.
Clearer.
I wouldn't let them see me defeated. I would go to that dinner with my head held high. And I would watch them closely. Very closely. The dinner was at my father's favorite restaurant, an elegant seafood place by the sea. I arrived 20 minutes early and asked for a table on the terrace. Instead of seating me with a private party, they, looking puzzled, set me outside. Through the window, I watched my family arrive one by one. First my parents, then Thomas with his perfect wife and kids, then Michael with his new fiancée, and finally aunts, uncles, and cousins. They were all dressed up to celebrate Dad's birthday and the new era of Harrington Maritime. Not a single person came outside to ask why I was alone. The waiter brought my simple grilled fish. As I ate, I kept my eyes on the private room. Inside, champagne flowed freely. My mother glanced at me once, then quickly looked away. She whispered to Dad, who frowned and turned his back on me. That's when I realized they'd all agreed to pretend I didn't exist. I ate slowly, savoring each bite and sipping my scotch. Thomas was at the front now, giving another speech. Laughter filled a room as the birthday cake arrived with blazing candles. When they started singing, I waved the waiter over. "Please charge me for everything in there. The food, the cake, the champagne," I said quietly. He hesitated. "Sir, that will be a large bill." "I know," I replied with a small smile. "And add a 25% tip for your staff." His eyes widened. "Very generous, sir. I'll let the manager know right away." I handed him my card and went back to watching. For 15 years, I'd managed every dollar at Harrington Maritime. My habit was to track even tiny oddities in the books, strange transfers, odd client charges. I kept detailed notes, not because I mistrusted anyone, but because that's how I worked. Those notes became a private audit of the company's finances. As Dad blew out his candles, I thought about the future. After I was pushed out as CFO, I'd taken nothing but my personal belongings. I didn't need any files. My records were already stored safely. The waiter soon returned, handed me the receipt, and said, "It's all paid for, sir." The manager asked me to thank you. I signed, left him a cash tip, and said, "One more thing. When they ask, tell them it's from the former CFO." He blinked but nodded. Walking to my car, I felt lighter. The family had made their choice. Now I would make mine. Over the next weeks, I said nothing to them, no calls, no emails. I moved like a well-planned strategy. First, I bought a small cottage on the Maine coast, close enough to watch the family business, but far enough to start over. Then I reached out to 3 old clients who preferred dealing with me. I didn't complain about Harrington Maritime. I just listened. I learned that service was slipping, prices were up, and response times were slow under the new CFO. Through industry contacts, I heard that Thomas's big ship purchases had stretched the company too thin, and Michael's logistics changes were causing delays. 3 weeks after the dinner, I got a call from Thomas. His voice sounded strained. "James, we're in trouble with the Anderson account. They might leave us. You had their trust." I paused. "You said the company needed new leadership and fresh ideas. I won't get in the way." I hung up before he could argue. Calls from Michael and Dad followed, each more urgent. The new CFO had found irregularities in the books. I reminded them, "I'm no longer with the company. Ask your CFO." Meanwhile, I launched a small consulting firm from my cottage, offering maritime financial advice. Word spread fast. By 2 months in, I had to hire help. By 3 months, I had 3 employees and was turning down work. I kept an eye on them. The irregularities I had noted were just the start. Thomas's over-optimistic expansions and Michael's costly changes were sinking the company. 4 months later, my nephew's graduation invitation arrived. I sent a generous gift, but declined to go. My new business was booming. Industry magazines mentioned my firm, and colleagues asked to join. 6 months after my removal, Harrington Maritime declared bankruptcy. Thomas's debt-heavy expansions and Michael's flawed systems had broken the company. The new CFO resigned after 4 months, overwhelmed. I felt no joy in their downfall, but I did feel vindication. The careful, detailed work they once dismissed had been the only thing keeping the company alive. The hardest moment came a week later when I heard the family home, the big house by the sea where we'd all grown up, was being put up for sale to help pay off debts. That's when my mother called me, crying. James, please. We need your help. Your father won't say it, but he's heartbroken. This is tearing him apart. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. We made a huge mistake. For the first time in months, I felt unsure. What do you want me to do? I asked. Come home, she said through her tears. You've always been the one who could fix things. I closed my eyes. I felt tired, deep down. I can't just wave a magic wand. The company is bankrupt. But you know people, she said, desperate. You must have some way to help. Her voice broke my heart, even after everything. I'll think about it, I said. That's all I can promise right now. That night, I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a small sense of justice. But under it all, I still felt responsible. They were my family even now. The next morning, I started making phone calls. Over the years, I had made strong connections with banks, investors, and people in the shipping world. People who trusted me. By the end of the day, I had set up a meeting with a group of investors. They weren't doing it out of kindness, but because Harrington Maritime still had value with the right leadership. I called my father. There's a meeting on Wednesday at 2 p.m., I said. The Sullivan Group is interested in buying and saving the company. There was silence on the other end, then a shaky breath. You did this for us? After how we treated you? I did it for the employees, I replied. And for the family name. But I have conditions. Anything, he said quickly. Thomas and Michael can't run the company anymore, I said. They can stay on the board if the buyers agree, but no day-to-day control. The new team will be in charge. A long pause. They won't like that. That's not my problem, I said. Those are my terms. Take it or leave it. I'll speak to them, he said quietly.
The meeting went well.
The investors saw potential in the company's reputation and customers. They agreed to keep as many workers as possible and to keep the Harrington name. To my surprise, they asked if I would come back as CFO. I said no politely. My new company was doing well, and I didn't want to go back. Thomas and Michael were removed from leadership. They were given small roles on the board, mostly for appearances. My father was given a symbolic title, just to save face. The house was saved, though many assets were sold to cover debts. Which brings me back to that terrace table exactly 1 year after the birthday dinner. This time, the family was gathering to celebrate the company's recovery under new ownership. Everyone was there, my parents, brothers, their families, extended relatives. Except me. I'd been invited many times. My mother had even called the day before. Please, James. It would mean everything to your father. To all of us.
But I said no, gently.
I have other plans. Tell everyone I said hello. Instead, I booked the same terrace table at the same restaurant. I arrived early and watched through the window as my family arrived. They didn't see me. It looked just like last year, but the mood felt different. More serious. My father looked older. Thomas and Michael looked unsure of themselves. I ordered the same meal and drink and quietly watched through the glass. When the waiter brought my check, I handed him an envelope with my card.
Please give this to them, I said.
Inside was a short note. Congratulations on the restructuring. Wishing you all the best in your new roles.
James.
The waiter paused, eyes widening a little. Sir, were you here last year too? I nodded. You paid for them that night as well. Good memory, I said with a smile. He hesitated. If you don't mind me asking, why do this again? Why sit out here alone and still pay for their dinner? He stopped himself, unsure. Because they pushed me out? I finished. I thought about it. It's not about revenge. It's about showing them and myself that I've moved on. That I can wish them well without being part of it. I looked toward the room. They're still my family, but I've built a new life. One that doesn't rely on being accepted by them. The waiter nodded. I'll deliver the note and let them know the bill is covered. I thanked him, finished my drink, and stood to leave. Through the window, I saw him go into the room and hand my father the envelope. I watched as my father opened it, read the note, and looked up, scanning the restaurant. His eyes found me. For a long moment, we looked at each other. Then he stood. Others noticed, and turned to see what he was looking at. My mother, Thomas, Michael. One by one, they saw me. I gave a small nod and a slight smile. Then I turned and walked away. Not angry, not sad, just moving forward. My phone rang before I got to my car. I let it ring. Maybe I'd listen to their messages tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow I'd decide if it was time to rebuild those bridges. But tonight, I drove along the coastal road to my cottage, windows down, breathing in the salty air, free, on my own terms, and for the first time in years, fully at peace.